capital and networks they need to succeed in growing and scaling internationally. With offices in over 20 countries, we make it easier for Norwegian companies to step out into the world. In the past year, we have awarded 7.1 billion Norwegian kroners in loans, grants and guarantees to support promising ideas. In this way, we have helped to create new jobs nationwide and made it possible to transform creativity and courage into product development and value creation. With clear targets for green transition and growth, we offer scaling programs and financing to enable more companies to expand and strengthen their competitiveness nationally and internationally. The EU is investing billions in developing new industries that will contribute to solving major challenges. Our experts assist companies that want to participate in the international competition for these funds. Our national export initiatives highlight the potential for Norwegian companies to compete successfully in selected global industries. We support companies with ambitious projects within offshore wind, more and greener maritime exports, tourism, health and life science, manufacturing and design, and we are ready for entirely new ventures such as aquaculture. Through trade fairs, delegations, the Made in Norway label, and Norway's official portal to the world, businessnorway.com, Innovation Norway gives your business international visibility. That is precisely what we work for, to give local ideas global opportunities.
Welcome everyone to this session on circular economy. I'm very happy to welcome you all and a fantastic panel to discuss this important topic here at COP29. My name is Ele Bleie Munkelin and I work for Innovation Norway, and this film introduced a bit about our company. I will start by introducing, if I can get the clicker to work. Oops, there we are. Back. Sorry. I will start by I think we got it now. I will start by introducing this green platform, an initiative by the Norwegian government to support the green transition in Norway. As part of the panel, we will see also examples from financing from this green platform. There we are. The green platform is giving us considerable support for both R&D activities within the green transition and the transition we need to accomplish it if Norway shall meet its emission goals for 2030 as well as 2050. It is expected that the green platform will give good results. Most certainly, we have been looking at the value chain and to strengthen that competitiveness within Norway and the Norwegian enterprises. It should also deliver measurable positive environmental effects, develop new and secure existing work and employment in Norway, and share project results and findings that can inspire also others. These deliverables should be ready in 2030 and of course also toward 2050. And the first mission was given as a 3-year project period. It started off in 2020 with the Norwegian government giving this support scheme to support the green transition projects. It aimed to accelerate the development of sustainable, environmentally friendly solutions in various industries. And some of these industries we will soon dive into. The funding was managed both by the Norwegian Research Council as well as Innovation Norway and SIVA, and we have formed a very strong relationship, the three organizations together to get the funding applied as best as possible. This year, the Norwegian government also initiated a new call for projects and issued an additional budget of 82 million euros for the period of 2025 to 2027. The goal is, of course, to stimulate even faster and more significant investments from business in the green industries to support this green transition, but also in particular with the circular economy. A lot of the projects that have been financed so far is within the circular economy space. These are some of the sectors that have been funded. Energy is one, maritime, construction and property, which we will be coming back to, but also ocean industries, manufacturing and transport. In total, for the first period, there has been 450 actors in these sectors, as you see here. So both universities, public organizations, different clusters have worked together to initiate good projects that have already given interesting results, and that we hope to discuss here today, also the scaling of these. In here you see some of just a number, how it has spread out within public sector, catapult, and this is on the business side. Also, of course, it is important for Norway to have good projects spread around our long country. And we have had projects that are running all the way from Tromsø, Finnmark, to middle of Norway, western part, as well as in the center of Norway. Today we will present a few of the projects here. Sirktre is one, and I think we will also hear information from the use of bio-based resources, as well as on the maritime sector with steel and metal. I think I will stop here because it's time to go over to our panelists here today. I will invite our panelists to enter the stage here with me. You will do the first presentation. Then I would like to welcome up Kristin Nore from Sirktre to present your project that has been one of those that have been financed from the Green Platform. I'll give this to you. And I think are you having this microphone? Yeah, you can go.
Thank you, Eli, and thank you for joining us for this seminar. I will give you a short brief on our project and tell you how circularity can give an immediate climate response, which is absolutely needed in order to get the Paris Agreement going. Let's see. Buildings are the actual circular economy. 50% of all raw materials excavated from today is put into buildings. And these buildings exist with these materials, so it's obvious that it's possible to reuse the existing materials into new buildings. We are also quite good at doing carbon footprint analysis, life cycles analysis in the building industry. Also, the building industry has quite long-term planning, so we are able to think ahead and introduce old materials into new buildings and to renovate old buildings. And also, there are large volumes connected to our built environment. The UN came with a report last year in front of the COP meeting. And this is the circular economy methodology, avoid, shift, improve. And the UN said that for buildings, avoid will be not to rebuild, use what we have and try to improve on efficiency, shift to the bio-based materials, in order to allow buildings to also be carbon storage and improve the non-renewable building materials in order to make them last much longer. And forests are actually growing building materials. We have one of the leaders in the timber industry, Katrina Lehmann. She explains that CO2 is actually absorbed in the forest, and when not using the forest to be used as a building material, we actually do not empty this vacuum cleaning of absorbing CO2. So we have to. And also, wood can easily be a circular material. For our project, Sirktre, 8% of our emissions in Norway can be reduced due to Sirktre alone. That's only by saying that half the waste wood has to be put back into buildings. And actually, we have to do that anyways. It's part of our EU regulations. But now, we incinerate, we burn 90% of our waste wood. These are our partners, and this is how we foresee our value chain, the circular value chain. And here is how we think, just to show that we have a structure around this. I'd like to say a little bit more about the standard, and I'd like to show you a little bit of our results, which are selected and shown here. It's results big and small. The first one here I'd like to highlight is a barn, which we built 2 years ago, a cow barn, and it's of course working perfectly. It's built with 75% reuse. And there are tons of projects done. It's building circular, it's circular building components, and it's also increasing the use of our buildings. Standards. We need standards in order to communicate circular economy. And the ISO 9000 series, they are the overarching circular economy standards. CEN 350, they make the circular construction standards. But in Sirktre, we make the Norwegian or the standards for circular timber, how to strength grade and reuse timber that has already been used and put it back into the industry. 3 standards are already done. 2 are on this way, and this needs an extra thought. We are on our way to start a standard on design for reuse and hope to make a Nordic agreement on this one. We believe in Omtre that 30% of the wood can be provided by reuse in the timber industry in the future. So these are large volumes waiting for a bigger timber market. And also, our governments consider how to lift and make this circular transition easy, more easy, work on how to change the market, build the technology, how to change the regulations, build awareness, and of course, make incentives. But the most important is to show that we are actually solving a crisis. We have to do this in order to solve the climate crisis. So that's it from my side, and then I'll give the word to John, who will talk about circular steel.
Thank you. Can you hear me? I was thinking about putting some music on the headsets. We got some playlists. I'm here to talk about Oppcirk, which is a project we've been working on for 4 years, and it became a green platform project last year. Trying to solve 2 of the biggest problems that we know, but we came from the building industry, and the building industry stands for 40% of the global emissions. And they will be regulated, they can't do it anymore, right? And then we found a solution. So this is Norwegian numbers, and every time I present numbers, somebody's shooting at me and said, oh, that's not the right number, but we are using the governmental numbers. And it said, if you use new tons of steel, as a virgin steel, if you use it in the building industry in Norway, it's basically 3 times. So 1 ton of steel is almost 3 tons of CO2 emissions, right? With our product that I'm going to present to you now, we're at 0.17. So we basically take away 90% of the emissions with fantastic steel. That's the one thing we do. And then I have to use the clicker. The other thing is the shipping industry. Norway has a fantastic large shipping industry, 5% of the global ships in terms of value. And we have made fantastic large yards in Norway to take care of our oil industry. So the upcoming years, all our oil rigs are coming in shore to do decommissions. And we've done that in a sustainable, reliable way. So the most environmentally friendly, what's it called, decommission yards in the world are actually in Norway. The thing is, they only operated 50% of the time because the oil rigs can only come in summer. So the rest of the year, they have nothing to do. So we started to look at, if we take these ships that we have, these fantastic ships with great steel, instead of sending them to Turkey or to Asia, where they will be melted again, what if we cut out the pieces and make building materials? So actually that's what we do. It's really simple actually. You take out the steel plates that's already there. They've been at sea for 20 years, but they have this fantastic quality. We have found a way to recertify them, to look at the standard, to test them, that they have the quality they need to have for the building industry. We have put them in an ordinary steel production factory, and we have made certified building products, and there are in a bunch of buildings already. So it actually works, and then we've taken away maybe 20% of the CO2 emissions in an ordinary office building. Isn't that fantastic? Made in Norway, you know. And the funny thing is that, how did we make it circular? We found a bridge between the building industry and the shipping industry. So we actually solved the shipping industry's challenge. They are looking for more reliable ways to do decommission. A place they can trust. And the building industry needs to solve their steel problem. And the shipping industry, you know, only in the EU, they have, Norwegian ship owners have 1,500 ships. That's millions of tons of steel. So we don't have to buy it from China, or we don't have to buy new steel because we already actually have it. And this is how we can make it worthwhile. If you send a ship to a EU-approved decommission yard, they are all basically in Turkey. 7% of all decommission is done there. They pay you $300 for every ton. If we can upcycle it and make it in the building industry, the same plate goes to 10 times. Why haven't we done this before? It's stupid. So today we can deliver steel plates in different thicknesses and sizes because the boats have different thicknesses and sizes. And we have already made buildings like these ones. Now, this year is the first time we actually do big production. That's from a pilot. This year, we're taking out the large office buildings. So, and the building industry are so, they call us every week. So basically, when we get a kilo of steel, it's sold the same day. So it goes right through us. And here are some of the partners that said, okay, you strange guys from Bergen, let's see if we can scale this. So this is basically a whole new value chain. It's a circular value chain with the shipping industry, with the real estate industry, and we have also the business school with us, with actually the thought leader or the most, the researcher worldwide, what's it called? Nancy Boken is on our team. And I made this. I just want to start off, to end off with saying, I think we should start sending our ships to Norway. We have the best facilities to take care of them, and we will make it to a great and industrial adventure. Thank you. Can we put the techno on now when the... Hvordan gjør jeg det? Det bare klikke neste. Nei?
Ja, det vil jeg. Thank you so much, Christine and Jon, for presenting two types of material that definitely should not become waste, but a high-value product also. And we have the opportunity to scale this. But first now, I would like to invite our increased panelists to present their company and how they work with circular economy. Eili Berge from Mustad Real Estate, maybe you would like to start and present what you do from your side in your industry. Thank you.
Can you hear me now? Still not? Can you hear me now? Yes. Okay, my name is Eili, and I represent the 40% industry that was presented. I'm from a real estate company based in Oslo. And right now we're working on transforming our area that's about 300 acres. It consists now of office buildings, mainly from the 90s. And we did, a few years ago, we did a mapping of what our buildings consist of. And that was a huge eye-opener for us, understanding how much materials, but also how much value we have in our existing buildings. But going from that mapping to actually using those materials again, that's a whole different story. And we see that we have been building or constructing our buildings. First of all, we're constructing them for one single user, and they're never single-user buildings. And it's very difficult to demount them and use it again because you don't know the details, and it's a very expensive and difficult process. So we're doing a lot of work to make sure that we're not doing that mistake again. So we have to design our buildings for multi-use and for being able to take them down and reuse the materials. So that's kind of where we are and what we're working on.
And do you have access to enough circulated materials for your buildings today?
No, but we're seeing that a lot of new products are coming on the market, and also a lot of things are being done to make, because one thing is that we know the materials that we have, but it's not always the timing of things is that you take down one building and then you're building a new one, or you're redoing a building, then you need a network and a market that functions well, and that's not existing today, of reused materials. Yeah.
So improved value chain, but
yeah.
You heard that, right? So
value chain is not very, it's almost non-existent today.
Oh. I would also like to invite Sebjørn Dahl from Høg. So you represent one of those industries mentioned by Jon. You have a lot of steel. Would you send it back to Norway, and please introduce your company and how you work with circular economy today?
Yeah, thank you. And good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me? And that's a good start. I'm from Høg Autoliners, which is a shipping company, almost 100 years old. But the Høg family, they also have a quite big Norwegian real estate company. So in a way, standing here, I represent both something that's happening or going on the real estate side. But my daily life is shipping, so I will probably spend most time on that. A few words about the wood and looking forward. Also, in Hög, we are looking at sustainability as one of the core business strategy. And we are willing to take risk. We like to call ourselves agile and bold, which means that sometimes we invest in something which we know might be risky. And sustainability, everybody talks about it, but there are not everyone doing something, and we try to act instead of only talk. So what we have done in the real estate company is to build a big office building in Oslo city center, and it's super modern, using wood. A small part of steel, which we will revert to in a few seconds, but showing that it's possible to build a top modern 2024 office building in wood is something that Hög Real Estate, or Hög Eiendom in Norwegian, has done. And of course that is leading the way forward in a way. When it comes to my friend Jon here talking about recycling of vessels, and that is my main daily work, is working in the maritime industry. We are putting a lot of effort into our present vessels, looking how we can make them more environmental friendly. We are investing $1.2 billion in new vessels, which will be the state-of-the-art zero-emission vessels coming into the market already from now on. But looking at how we get some of the old vessels out of the chain, that is not very often discussed. So when I was approached some time ago, not long time ago, I was immediately super enthusiastic about the idea, because scrapping of the vessels is it's a huge problem, capacity-wise in the world. There are roughly 110,000 big vessels in the world today. And the big vessels, then they are talking about 20,000 tons of steel, not maybe always that much, in each vessel. So it's a tremendous steel mill sailing around, which will be outdated going forward. So when I was approached of what do you think about the idea to bring the vessel to Norway and do what you explained just now, I thought it was a fantastic idea. And when I went to bed the same night, I think there was a why haven't we done this before? For me, we have roughly 40 vessels in operation. When you are trading in Europe, there are regulations. You cannot bring the scrap out of Europe. Then you are exporting scrap. And if you do that, you are doing something illegal. So it has to be scrapped in Europe in a legal way. And today for us, it's only one shipyard in Turkey that has the capacity to do that because of the size of the vessels. Which means that the capacity is in itself a scarce resource. But it's done in a green way. So it's done in a proper manner. You get the certificate, but it's not green in the sense that all the steel will be brought to a steel mill, melted, transported around, so it's not green at all. So the idea here to bring the vessel to the west coast of Norway and to cut steel plates and bring it to the maybe the wooden house. You need some steel, maybe. That's a fantastic idea, and we are willing to support that as best as we can. And what we have done is to nominate. We have nominated 2 vessels, each of them 21,000 tons of steel, which we can use as a kind of to get the wheel running and support the project. So one thing is to say this is nice. But then it's about leadership and going forward and do something, and we are willing to go far in order to make that a realism. And maybe we can use that steel in our buildings with some wood, but also some steel from the vessel. And then the circle is a kind of closed, and it's a small industrial fairy tale in my mind. So it's fantastic, and I'm super enthusiastic.
We are also very excited about this, and we'll stay in the maritime segment a bit longer. But just a quick question: when you built this wooden office building in Oslo, how easy was it for you to get hold of, sustainable material that you wanted for this building?
Now, in that particular case, it was not a problem to do it. The more problem is to decide to do it. I think, and that is very often a case. If you decide to do something, very often you see that it's possible. But as we see, and that is probably one of the main challenges in COP here in Baku, is that it's a lot of people sitting on the fence, talking about what to do and what we can do and the possibilities. Instead of doing that, we are building the building. We are doing it, and it's not a problem. It's a matter of take the step and be a little bit bold and believe in what you are doing. And the same with the vessels. We are building green vessels, and of course, we know that we can fall. We know that there can be a lot of butterflies in the wheel. But if you don't try, one thing is for sure, then you will never succeed. So it's about try to do it. And there will be a portion of commercial risk, and that you have to be willing to take, but you can de-risk it a little bit if you do a proper homework. So it's a matter of get the finger out, as we say, and jump down from the fence and show that it's possible. And then if you fall, then you can raise and you learn from it. But I think that is the thing. When it comes to the wooden office building, when it comes to the vessels, one is for sure. It's not the one-man show. You have to do it together. So you have to combine competences, you have to combine experiences, you have to combine smart heads. And without that, it's impossible. So cooperation is a key word. So this is not a John Cruise Mission Impossible thing. It's rather a cooperation matter where you have to come together and be smart or smarter together. Then it's possible.
Thank you. And we certainly need the first movers, but we also need to scale things. And on the cooperation, I think that both Om3 and Oppcirk is very good examples of industry actors coming together in a very broad sense. And I know from Shipowner Association, if I can also invite Sigvald Sveinbjørnson.
Yes, that's correct.
Yes, to also tell a bit, how about scaling? Because you represent the whole association.
No, I don't. I represent Maritime Bergen, which is part
of the Shipowner Association.
Yeah, we are working very closely with the Shipowner Association, also the Shipowners Association in Bergen. But we are a foundation founded 30 years ago by the industry, and we are working for the industry in western parts of Norway. And we are cooperating with, of course, Oslo and elsewhere in what we call Maritime Forum. But we was invited into this consortium, which we jumped on and have been quite actively by John, because they hadn't any contacts and expertise or knowledge about the maritime industry. They have huge competences in the building industry and construction industry and steel and everything, but not the maritime side of it. So and we thought, okay, is this interesting for us? Yeah. Not only the ship owner side, which have need to recycle their ships, but also the supplier side. Half of our members are companies that are making equipment and technology that are put in the ships. And a lot of that equipment could be taken out and reused. And some of our members, like Framo, which is famous for building world-class pumps, for tankers. They are now searching shipwrecking yards in Asia for spare parts. So we see, okay, it's a new orientation in all the industry about how could these circular frameworks, how can we use it? Because the resources are getting more and more scarce. So our job as a foundation and member organization is to, well, help our industry to connect with other milieus or other communities. And it was after a dinner we had in Oslo. I called you and said, do you have any ships? And you say yes. And then the ball started to roll. And you need someone like Sebjørn and Høg to take the first step. And then the other will come and rushing behind them.
So first movers again, yes, but how about scaling? Is that still a challenge for you guys? Do you have enough steel to recirculate? Do you have enough material for Omtre to reach your goals?
Well, we do have enough material, but we do not have the industry ready to do the recycling or reproduction of this material. And actually it's two parts here. It's of course returning, reusing the material, but also as important is, as Eili mentioned, the design for disassembly, because we have designed our buildings very stupid the last 100 years. You have to design them so that they are able to be reused component-wise, and also flexible buildings so that you can use them in many ways. And steel has been a front mover in this field. They are easier to disassemble in buildings. Wood is not as easy, still not, but we would like to move forward on standards on how to design for disassembly, because then we can make the lifespan of a component 3 times longer, and it will make a big difference.
So one of the challenges for you is standardization, getting that regulation.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
and what's very nice here being in the Nordic cooperation room is that this goes for all of us, and we are all the Nordics built with wood, and all of us, we actually in Finland and Norway, we have it in our technical building regulations that we have to design for disassembly. However, we haven't said what it means yet, so we have to define what it means in a standard, and I think we should make that together.
Can I also ask you, Jon, what needs to be in place to scale? We have enough ships, apparently.
We have the yards, but they are made to take care of the oil industry, the platforms, oil rigs. So we need to do some adjustments, but it's small adjustments compared to building these yards for the oil industry. So there's small investments, and we already have the ships. We don't need to change any regulations basically to get them. It's about economy. If you send the ships to Turkey today, they pay you $300. And if you send it to Norway today, if you don't upcycle it, you have to pay $1 million just to take it to Norway, or $100,000. But if you upcycle it, that's when you change the whole the whole system. That's when you can scale and make a circular project. And we already done it, so we've proven it. So we just basically need more ships or more ship owners to say, okay, I have some ships. Can you look at these? That's actually what we need. That's it.
We have 5 minutes left of this session. I wish we had 5 hours more. It's a topic definitely of high importance on this climate summit. But I would just invite you to give a short, one last sentence, your vision for the future, which we are definitely here to discuss. If I can start with Eili.
What was the question?
How does the perfect vision for the future look from your side? How do we, grow your ambition on the circular economy?
I think what makes me optimistic is that we see projects like this emerging, and taking a part of the market that's there. The building material market is huge. It's like, I've translated to euros, in Norway it's about 6 billion euros a year. And if 2% of that is recycled or reused, that's a big market in itself, and I think that's possible to see in the very near future. But it's a matter of daring to think differently and challenging your own very linear way of building or thinking. So and I think we've been reminded by a lot of the people talking now. It's a matter of looking at the opportunities that are obviously there and exploiting those. And I think I'm very positive when it comes to new products, new ways of collaboration between different sectors, and I think that's very. It makes me hopeful in a time where there are a lot of bad things going on.
Thank you. And more collaboration, is that what you foresee in the future as well?
Yeah, I think it's close to Christmas, so maybe this can be a kind of early Christmas wish. I think that very often when you have a good idea, you have to get the bits and pieces into place. When it comes to green buildings or green recycling, I think the mechanics or the main building blocks are there. So we have 2 vessels ready to go to Norway to be chopped up. There are facilities, but it has been mentioned, it's always down to kind of business and money. You have to make that add up in a way. So it's not enough with us. We need the politicians also to kind of see the opportunities and a kind of long-term benefit. And not talking about subsidies, but a kind of starting package to get it rolling. To run a business based on subsidies is not a good business model for anyone. But it might be good with a kind of auxiliary engine in the start. So my Christmas wish is that the politicians look upon this and try to get it started. So nobody would have bought electric cars if they were double price as a gasoline car, as an example. So money talks, even if it's important sustainability targets there.
Yeah, government is definitely part of the equation when we're talking about collaboration. But will you wrap up the same Christmas pack for our government or something else?
I think I'm going to celebrate Christmas with Seven this year. Yeah, I really support what you're going. We even know what we need the government to kind of what we would like them to support us with. We were doing all the finances. We know what to do. But there's one more thing that if I were a politician I would think about is still when I look at the real estate projects, it's usually cheaper to build a new one than actually to reuse. We have to look at making that a bit more cheaper. I know there's some work going on doing that, but maybe they should push a bit forward, and maybe we need some politicians who are a bit bold too. Yeah. That's what I wish, bold politicians.
Thank you. Definitely working on the business case to make this cheapest and best in Norway. What about you, Kristina?
Well, I can follow up on this, and I can challenge what we actually need in the regulations would be, and it's also already suggested by the EU in the taxonomy, a percentage reused materials in the new rehabilitation and new buildings. Because if you do that, then you will create the market that we need in order to get this going. So small investments, and it's possible to build in reused steel and wood. Thanks.
Excellent, thank you. And Sigvald, last words from you?
Well, I think my hope is that we see how important the maritime industry is for this country, for Norway. We have the 5th largest fleet in the world. We are a giant in this field, but we seldom hear about it. But I joined the industry 2 years ago, and well, I'm quite optimistic. So I think this will go nice, but we have to, the Norwegian politicians have to realize what kind of strategic assets we have in the maritime industry. Yeah.
Thank you so much to a fantastic panel. And if I could just add to my wish list, it's for Innovation Norway and the Norwegian Research Council to receive many good project applications also for the green platform in the coming years. So we can see very good examples like you presented here today and be ready to scale them as well. So thank you also everyone for listening in and for coming here today. Big thank you to our panelists.
Hello? Can everyone hear me? Is the microphone working? Yeah? Okay. I'm just going to move this right here. Is it working? Okay. Welcome. No? Someone says it's not working. Okay. Yeah? Welcome, everyone. I'm super happy to see so many of you here today. My name is Laura, and I'm here on behalf of the Icelandic Young Environmentalists. And today we want to share with you a practical toolkit we created for the national governmental elections in 2021, and how that actually had political influence on a governmental level. But first, I would like to start with telling you a little bit more about our NGO. Let me see how this works. Yeah. So we are the largest youth-led NGO in Iceland that is environmentally focused. We have over 1,300 members across the whole country, and we were established in 2013. Our board consists of 7 individuals, so the president, vice president, treasurer, and then we have 5 committee representatives. I am the committee representative of the Circular Economy Committee, and then we have climate change, nature conservation, education, and media. We do a lot of different things, and an important part of making a difference is establishing connections. That's why we think it's very important to send someone from our organization to different kind of conferences, and have done so in the past. This is, for example, from a COP in previous years. We also hold a lot of different events in Iceland. For example, the Fridays for Future protests every Friday at noon. And then our latest big event, which had tremendous success, was an event called COP Reykjavik, where we tried to bring a bit of COP to Iceland. And we invited different types of people for like a full scheduled event, a full day. And one of those was a panel that we had with different members of parliament, where we tried to get an insight on what they think about different matters linked to the environment, nature, circular economy, etc. In our fast and political world, we have to let our voices be heard and tell our side of the problem in a professional way. So each year we write a lot of commentaries and reviews that are addressed to the authorities. We try to lift it up by using social media and the press so that we can get our point across. We of course do a lot of other things, but that's not what this event is about. So I would actually like to welcome to stage Tinna and Þorgerður, who are interestingly both former presidents of the NGO. So welcome.
Can you hear me with this? No. I hear, yes? Okay, great.
Yeah, so hi everyone, thanks for the introduction. So as already stated, my name is Tinna and I am the previous chairperson of the NGO, and me and Þorgerður are going to do a bit of a presentation of a project we conducted at our time on the board. So I'm going to give the mic to you.
Thank you. My name is Þorgerður. I'm also a former president of the Young Environmentalists and a current president of the Icelandic Environment Association. But we did this project before the election 2021, and its name is soley, or it referring to the sun, because we're shedding a light on the manifestos of the political parties, but it's also influenced by the sunrise movement in the US, so that's why we chose this name. So after we established a contact with almost all of the political parties, we had meetings with all but one, we decided that it was difficult to sort of follow up with something that would make them maybe act on what they were saying. So we decided to make this project where we graded them based on their manifestos. So the idea was born, and we hired 3 female professionals or students who were studying environmental science and sustainability science in the University of Iceland, or no, they were in different universities, but never mind. And we developed a criteria with them, but a lot of the work was also done voluntarily. But then we also hired somebody for the graphics. So we got suggestions from experts, but also from members, and we made the criteria, and we actually had the criteria with references from national or international science, where we sort of supported the goals that we wanted the parties to have. And then we had meetings with the parties, because we found it also important that we gave them this beforehand. They got the criteria 3 months before the elections, so they had enough time to implement it into their manifestos before the election. And so September 3rd, we published the grades to the parties and to the public in an event. And then there was the elections, but we also anonymized the data before the staff got them, and so they graded each party based on their manifesto and their election points. So it was anonymously done, and also each one of them did it on their own, and then we took the medium of their grades. So it was like to try to limit the unconscious bias. So you could get 40 points for climate, 30 points for nature protection, and 30 points for circular society. So we ended up with this. These were the grades of the parties. So you can see some of them have something 0.2 or 0.3. That's because we divided with the number of graders, which was 3. But you can also see that there is a range of points. So you can see who really put in effort and who really didn't. So we were very happy that we had this big range, but you can also see that there's a bit of polarization on the matter, that, you know, a few of them got a lot of points, and then a few of them got hardly any. So that was very interesting to us. But all of the points were, like, for each of the points, it was very well illustrated and open to the public, so we thought it was extremely important for it to be transparent, so that the media and the public could interpret the points themselves, so they could actually just go through what the parties got points for and then decide on what they wanted to vote for. So I will now pass the mic over to Tinna.
Yeah, so thank you. So this is just a glimpse of the whole criterion, but it actually consists of 78 statements that we wanted to find their way into the party's policies. So you have the statement, then you have a reasoning for why we wanted this statement to be included, and then you have sources. So we actually also just provided the parties with a whole, whole dictionary of what they would need and what it means to really implement climate and nature into their policies. The event at which we published the grades was a great success. We invited a representative from each party to come and receive their grade. And the room was filled both with politicians and the general public. We were featured in all major news outlets, and sparked quite a stir on social media. And in the days and weeks after the event, following the elections, politicians either boasted themselves of their good grade or had to justify their poor rating in debate shows, which was very interesting to watch. We mainly put the results available on a website that we designed or got a graphic designer to do. Then we printed a few posters, but we also emphasized to make printable versions of posters and pamphlets for the public to print out themselves to allow for more engagement. And then the main emphasis was also on stickers, as they're very cost-friendly, easy to spread around, and allow people to engage with the project. And our stickers traveled all across the country. So here you can see the results from Solin, like Þorgerður demonstrated, but now on this chart. So we see on the y-axis you have the total amounts of points available, 100, and how the parties scored. So obviously you can see the disparity between the different parties. And here you can see the election results represented by seats obtained in the parliament. So obviously we see that the public did not vote entirely according to our results. However, I want to say that that is not the only criterion of success for the project, because firstly, after giving the parties the criterion, they had 3 months, like we said, to adjust their policies, and they certainly did. So we saw many things that we had written find their way directly into their policies. So they were way more aware, and they were more noticeable about the topic, and we managed to push it a bit higher, the ambition a bit. And then also, we managed to put environmental and climate affairs in the spotlight before the election in a way that had not done before. So really, more people got interested, and more people had easily accessible information to evaluate policies and see how they wanted to make an informed decision, which of course can not only be based on the criterion, but other sources as well, and real-life experiences from each individual. So the criterion can also be used in different ways. So the course shows us where the parties disagree, where they rank, but more importantly, it shows us where they agree. So we actually made a list of topics that had full agreement between parties and should therefore easily have made their way through Parliament if elected officials would actually act according to their policies, and then also could find their ways into the coalition agreement. And then also it's just really good for anyone to, if they're interested in a specific topic, to track that and see what each party thinks. Yes, I think that's it for now. So any questions will be taken alongside the panel, but thank you so very much for listening to us.
Great. Thank you. Well, now I would just like to invite our wonderful panelists here on stage. These are Augusta, Cleo, and Siri, but I will also let them introduce themselves more once they have sat down with me. All right. So thank you so much for being here. I am really excited to talk to you guys more. First, I would just like to give you an opportunity to introduce yourselves. So maybe your name, where you're from, what your organization or role is, and why you're here at COP, in like 1 or 2 minutes.
Hi everyone, can you all hear me? Great. My name is Cleo. I am part of the Dutch Youth Climate Movement. We represent more than 70 youth organizations within the Netherlands, and with that we represent more than 1.1 million youth. And this gives us the mandate to really be at the table with politicians. So we really try to address, to give voice to youth at the in the climate debate within the Netherlands. Yeah, that's about me.
And I am the Swedish youth delegate, which means that I am here as part of the official Swedish delegation, but I'm not representing the government. I am representing the youth of Sweden. That's 600,000 people. So I have traveled here with the negotiators of Sweden to bring forth the youth opinions and the young voice from civil society. So I am very happy to have been invited to this panel hosted by a youth organization from an NGO. So thank you for having me.
Hi everyone. Again, thank you for hosting us. I am Agustin from Ecuador. I am the founder chairperson of the Global Youth Coalition. What we do goes basically from capacity building, providing tools to the youth around the planet, and also we are a vast network of youth negotiators, party overflows, observers, that we are trying to propose a systemic change between the UN processes, because we believe of what we are doing here, but we also are aware that we need to evolve in the things that we are coming to do here, because it's already 20 years that we are repeating this process, and we feel the urgency of what's happening in the planet. I was just sharing yesterday, like, what's happening in Valencia, what's happening in my home country, Ecuador. Now we have a shortages of energy from 10 to 14 hours, something that was never something that I experienced in my home country, and it's because of the scarcity of water in a country of Latin America, where I will never expect that we don't have water coming, you know? So because of all this, we are proposing this systemic change through the Global Youth Coalition, and it's basically what we are doing with different stakeholders, like the University of Oxford. We are training above 10,000 people all over the planet, and programs also for filmmaking and nature-based solutions.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. So now we had a presentation about the practical toolkit we created, and I would just like to ask you if you think this toolkit, like a toolkit of this kind, one that evaluates national governments and climate policies of these governments, if you think that can be made or adapted in some way to your country, you know, in terms of the different maybe geopolitical context or size and different kind of culture, location. So maybe Cleo can start?
Yes, for sure. I think we can definitely apply it to the Netherlands. There is an NGO already doing this. However, I've never heard about it. I had to look it up. So I think that if I don't even know about it, and I'm quite in a green bubble, probably no one does. So therefore, the campaign about this should be way better. Yeah, personally, our NGO doesn't do this. We have something else that we call climate candidates. So from nearly every political party in the Netherlands, we select one person on the electoral list, and we name it the climate candidate of that party, so that whatever you choose, whatever political color you are, you can vote for climate. And yeah, that's kind of what we do during the elections. What does happen in the Netherlands, which could kind of hinder this process, is that many green parties actually put a lot of things in their programs, but when you look at their voting behavior during the time they're elected, they don't always vote that green. So yeah, it would actually be interesting to maybe also adapt this political toolkit to also look at the actual voting behavior of the parties within the time they are in parliament.
That's a very good perspective. And what about you, Siri?
So I think it was really inspiring to see this presentation about how you have gone about this in Iceland. Because in Sweden we do have an NGO, the Swedish Society for Natural Conservation, Naturskyddsföreningen, that does publish a report that says how well the political parties are responding to different categories within the climate change and climate crisis. So it does exist, but I do find it very difficult to see it actually reaching out to people. I have seen it, but I am also, like you said, in the green bubble, and I think that is the thing that impresses me the most, that you have actually been able to reach out to the public, that all of Iceland had heard about this, and that the voters actually took it into consideration, and that it went viral in debates and television. So I think that Sweden has got a lot to learn regarding this, because that's the most important aspects. When you go to vote, you need to be well informed, and I definitely think that the voters in general need to be more informed regarding the policies that the parties are actually working for.
I could not agree more. What about you, Augustin?
Is a strongly yes. We can apply this kind of projects all over the planet, no? But I would love to take this idea, as she says, I also got inspired. I was asking myself, what if we do something like this for the parties that are coming to COP? Because it's a really easy way to download the information into a digestible way for the status quo to understand what the parties are doing here. Are they being effective? There's a lot of climate tourism here that is happening, and I honestly don't like what some people come to do here, no? Like just to see a new country, a new space, but are you really coming to represent what your people of your country is expecting for you to happen? And it's something that we could apply all over the world to the different governments and parties in general.
Yeah. So one thing is to kind of make or adapt this kind of practical toolkit. And another thing is for it to have political influence, like we were discussing. And in some ways, our practical toolkit didn't succeed, and in others, it really did. So I was wondering if you think it could have political influence in your country. Maybe we can start on the other end?
Sure. It could actually, and again, it can happen also in Ecuador, but my role here as a Global Youth Coalition is to try to push the planet together. And for example, yesterday I was speaking with one negotiator, and he was sharing that the youth constituency is bringing the statement when we are already negotiating and when most of the countries already have their decisions being made, so barely change what they already have decided back home. So I hear that you guys were proposing something in September, giving them 3 months to implement the policies, and some of them made it to the statements, no? So what if we as youth here also propose something before coming to COP like June, and then we might have a broader impact?
Yes, I really want to believe that this could have a political impact. Like I said, we have yet to see this on a large scale in Sweden, but I do believe that everything comes down to environmental education. And this should be done in many different ways, and this is definitely a crucial step in educating the public about what environmental policies are being driven by what parties, and to make the general public understand that they do have an influence in the environmental policies that's being driven by the country. So I think that if we do work on more environmental education and get every single individual to understand that they do have the power to influence, because I think that many feel like their vote does not matter that much. But if we do spread this on a larger scale, I do believe that this could have a great impact on the policies.
Wonderful, thank you.
Yeah, I first wanted to say that I'm super happy that you not only did you influence voters, but also the political parties. I think that's amazing. When I look back at my own organization, how we have political influence, we always start with what is actually the opinion of the youth in the Netherlands, because that gives us mandate to talk with politicians and to have political influence. So with our 70 organizations, we created what we call the Youth Climate Agenda, and that is what we feel is our mandate to talk with politicians, to say, hey, this is how the youth in the Netherlands want the Netherlands to look like in 2040. And to do that, we want these and these policies. And I think that for us is how we gain political influence. And that we can do that throughout the year, not only during elections times, but yeah, we could definitely also learn a lot from your organization, because I think that was super fascinating what you did.
Thank you. That's really sweet. So I actually also just want to give you guys the space to either share something on this topic in terms of your country or your personal opinion, or if you have any final words you would like to add, now take the space to do so. So maybe now we can start with you, Cleo.
I think I've said everything, to be honest. If you have any questions about our organization, please come talk to me, or I have 2 of my other youth organization members here as well. That's it.
Yeah, I would just like to once again say that this is very inspiring, because I love to be in the spaces where young people are, where they are really working with whatever tools they've got. Because that's the thing, right? We're in a planetary crisis, a triple planetary crisis, in a climate crisis, and we do need to use all of the tools that we've got. And to see different NGOs working in different ways to actually, work on politics, like the policies, to educate the voters. It's amazing. And I think that all of us can take something with us from this panel and this presentation and really find our areas where we can work towards more environmental and climate-based decisions and solutions and education. So, I think that's what I'd like to say and what I'm bringing with me, that we do have so many ways of engaging and that we can really be inspired by each other.
Thank you. That was very inspiring.
Indeed. I was thinking something that we also need to think, resonate about it, is when you were sharing how your project impact in the last decision, and we also saw something that just happened in the US, is a lesson that we as people that are working, trying to push the climate agenda, we also need to learn something from these results. We are failing on communicating our goals, we are failing on communicating our message, and we are also not considering that there's also other bubbles, other spaces, other ways of thinking in the planet, and we are trying to educate, but are we thinking, do we own the truth? Yes, we need to protect nature, but there's other ways of living in the planet. We also need to consider them and listen to them. Finding a consensus or a middle point between all of the stakeholders around the planet and is what we need to consider when we are doing this kind of advocacy or political processes like what happened in the US. We just saw that there was a massively amount of youth men that were voting for this candidate that will be the elected president. And it's something that we need to learn from it, because between us, we come here, we clap each other and we say, yes, we are pushing, we are doing, we are feeling, we are doing something, and that kind of bring us the eco-anxiety that we have down, but we are not making the impact that the planet needs. And we need to understand that nature is not that everything is pink and every living thing is just surviving there and everything is holding between each other. There's a lot of chaos also in nature, but we need to learn how to be a one planet, because we are already, but we are forgetting about that.
Yeah, that's right. Well, thank you all so much for being part of this panel. And honestly, I hope we can talk more after, because I feel like you're all such inspiring individuals, and thank you for all your hard work in trying to make real change. I wanted to, or did you want to add something?
Yeah, please, if you want to learn more about the GYC, please visit the globalyouth.co, our website, and we will be happy to collaborate with all the youth around the planet, and also intergenerational work is not just about youth, it's about the planet.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Definitely. I just wanted to share with you all, just for information, that our government recently collapsed. So now we are looking to make a new sun, or Solin. But we only got to know this a month before the elections. So that gives us, or 1.5 months. So we were already in the process in getting it started for next spring. But now that is, the elections will be on the end of November. So as you can imagine, it was extremely urgent to get this started. So we found people that are willing to help us, and we will be working probably day and night until the elections to get this published. And we hope to get it published on the 23rd. So it will be a new edition, but because of the time constraint, we will not be able to update all the criteria. So we will have to just use some of the same criteria that still applies, and to evaluate so their new goals. And this will be very interesting, because the parties also have very little time to update their goals and to go through their things and make it better, like they did have 3 months for last time. But we hope to publish it 23rd of November, and so if this is something you're interested in, we have an Instagram, which is at Ungir Umhverfisinnar, like you can see in the corner over there. But we also have a website which is by the same name .is, so Iceland. And then we hope to one day do a similar project, but called Moon, so Tunglið, where we would then not just evaluate their goals, but what they actually did with that goals. Because it's one thing to create really good goals, but it's another thing to actually do what you say you're going to do. And we were planning to do that in the spring, but because of the governmental collapse, we just simply don't have the time to publish 2 different books. Or toolkits. But to thank you all for being part of this panel, I actually have a copy of our practical toolkit that I would like to give you, because we really just want this to be like something motivational to try to get others to do something similar or to adapt it to their country. So that's why, when we go off stage, I will give you each a copy, and we hope you can bring it back to your country and either do something with it like yourselves or give it to an NGO that you think might be able to use it. So thank you so much. I would like to open the floor to any questions, but I also want Þorgerður and Tinna to be ready to answer them in case they are maybe more linked to the presentation that we had. So are there any questions? No? Yeah? Okay. Maybe you can grab the mic. Okay, what first and then second?
Sorry.
Can you?
Yeah, hello, my name is Sky. I'm also from Youth Climate Movement in the Netherlands. Very interested to listen to the conversation. And I'm wondering about the new elections that are going on. Did you see, but maybe it's too soon to tell, improvements? So are the scores likely to be higher this time from the parties? Or is it too early to tell?
Should I answer this? Yeah. Well, it's indeed hard to tell. But maybe I should stand here because there's also a live going to happen about this. But yeah, so it's hard to tell. But what we do know is that the parties that have not updated their goals will probably have a similar grade. And this year we also have seen actually an increase in at least 1 or 2 specific parties that are increasingly talking about the environment, and one of them labeling themselves as the environmental party. And actually our president which was supposed to attend this COP, had to leave us to try to get elected in that party to create some change within government. But otherwise I would think it's pretty hard to tell. Do you want to add anything maybe? No?
I think the climate and nature is not as high in the agenda anymore. So I'm afraid, I think some of them actually simplified their manifestos, in their latest meetings, which probably will let them have fewer points. But we'll have to see, because they were more focused on housing and taxes and healthcare. So I think we're having a bit of a crisis there, where we don't have as much probably data, because we didn't only grade the agreed manifesto from the party, but also the points that they sort of put out, their promises, that they said this election is all about the environment and we are going to do this and this and this. If they said it these are our priorities for this election, we would also grade that, but I don't think we're going to have much about the environment in that, or if you're even grading it this time because of time. So.
But that's also true that in general we feel like people are talking less about this in society. When Greta Thunberg was on the rise and before COVID, everyone suddenly in Iceland were talking about the environment, and we had a lot more space. more people reaching out, media, etc. And we see a decline in that. So we're trying to. This is one of the reasons we're trying to do this again, to see if we can put it back on the agenda where it belongs. Because actually, it should be increasing in society, because it's going to have increasing impact on our planet and has increasing urgency as the time goes by. You also had a question?
Hello everyone. Fantastic presentation all around. My name is Muyiwa Oki. I'm the president of the RIBA, which stands for the Royal Institute of British Architects in the UK. And one of the reasons I became president last year was because I wanted to campaign for putting climate emergency on the map when it comes to the built environment. And I'm really taken aback and inspired by what you guys have been doing across the different regions in the Nordics. But I want to talk about both your the climate campaign. How much did it cost? And how much resources, for you guys on the panel, how much resources do you have to put into your various NGOs to ensure that you know, the message is being like heard and you'll actually have an impact? So yeah, those are mine.
Great question.
Maybe Tinna knows more about the how much it costs.
Yeah, I mean, I was not the treasurer at the time, so the number is not there. But what helped a lot is that we actually, because it was around COVID and the government was still having some grants going on for employment rate for young people, so we actually hired the 3 interdisciplinary scholars. We got to make the criterion along with all these scientists and suggestions from the NGO. We got their salary paid by a governmental program. So that was because a lot of it takes so much work to go, first of all, create the criterion, 78 different sentences, all the research work that goes into creating that, all the science back, everything, and then to actually read through all these policies, all these points that the parties have put forth, and then match those and make the grading. And of course, sometimes there's room for like you're not sure what to do, and that's of course why we use the median of the grading. But financing that part is super crucial, I think. And then we had some not project grant, just operational grants that we also apply for through the government, and that's what we use to hire the graphic designer and the programmer to make the website. And then so many hours were done voluntary work with members through the NGO. But I'm sorry, I don't have the numbers for you. We could obviously look them up and let you know. But I just want to emphasize, get professionals to do all the graphic design, all the programming, etc., because the delivery of the product is so important to create credibility.
But I don't think there was a lot of sponsoring on Facebook or anything like that, because it kind of hit a sweet spot in the discussion that was already happening around climate. But maybe now it would need more, I think.
Yeah, it would definitely be more expensive now. But I actually know that from our own accounts, so what didn't go from sponsors or not the salary that they received was, I don't know like the detailed number, but I know that it was around 2 million Icelandic krona. So if someone has a calculator, that would be like, with the euros, it would be €1 is 150 krona. So I don't know, because I don't have my phone with me, if someone can do the math or Google it. But yeah, around 2 million Icelandic krona.
Maybe like 15,000 euros or something like that, yeah.
From our budget. And this year, I think we have at least allocated 1 million krona as well to the new edition.
I would like to add something there. In our case, for the first program, we did it all for free. And I think it's not about how much money you have. It's about reaching the right stakeholders to share the project. We tend to want to be the logo in the project. It's always better to include other organizations, and there must be a guiding voice that believes in the process and shares. And sometimes you might feel lonely on this process because you are not paying, is everything volunteering. But when you believe in what you are doing, the right things happen and the right people approach and stays with you till the very end. With the program that we launched, we got 10,085 applications the first year, and we invest no penny in marketing. But what we did is we have a group of 9 people, and me as chairperson is, guys, you need to share this within each of your groups in WhatsApp and push and push and push. Sometimes even get a bit annoying them, like, but you want it to happen, no? It's like from your very source of your heart. So it's not about the money, it's about what you want to do, in my thinking, no?
Yeah. Were there any other questions? No? Great. Then we would like to end this event, but thank you all so much for participating, and then don't leave, because I will give you a physical copy. And if you want to just quickly glance through, I have 2 copies on the tables over there. The first half is in Icelandic and the second half is in English, so you just can go through it. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lise, and I would like to welcome you to this event. I will just let you put on these lovely headphones, and then hopefully you can hear me. So at this event, we will talk about Youth Climate Council and how we can spread the best practices that we have seen from all over the world, with the different youth councils, youth climate councils already up and running. And if I at any point end up saying YCCs, that means Youth Climate Council, just because it's a long title to say all the time. So if I go into that, you know why, and you know what it means. But my name is Lise, Lise Kørman Nygaard, as you can see on the screen. I'm the chair of Denmark's Youth Climate Council. I've been that since April. Yeah, and that's truly been an honor. And we will talk a lot more about what that means and what it means to be in a Youth Climate Council. Because I think that luckily we've moved beyond the question of whether youth involvement is important, whether youth involvement is something we should do within the climate field. So now it's more about how to do it and actually start doing it. So this event will be very practice orientated, and yeah, hopefully you will be able to walk away from this event and know how to set up a Youth Climate Council if you would wish to do so in your own country, or if you want to support someone who is trying to do that. So, first of all, I would like to ask our dear panelists if you have heard about the term Youth Climate Councils before. So if you heard about it, you can raise your hand. Okay, so some of you, that's great. Yeah, so I have a good panel here with me, and hopefully one more will join us shortly. But we have Mateus, who is the research coordinator at how do you spell it? COP29, yeah, exactly. The Youth Climate and Environmental Council in Brazil. And we have Margaret, and you are both a part of the Youth Climate Council in Ghana, but you are also the assistant for the global coordination. You're the global coordinator for our Global Alliance of Youth Climate Councils as well. So you've been having two roles here, and that's lovely. So first I want to start with a very crucial question for the two of you, which is, why do we even need to have youth climate councils? What is it that this way of involving the youth is contributing with to what are the other ways of youth involvement we've already seen? So if you would like to go first, Margaret.
All right, thank you very much. So why the youth climate councils? This is something that whenever I hear this question, I reflect a lot on what goes on. Actually, that is the reason why we have lots of the youth climate councils coming together and even expanding, because of the why. Now, the why has been based on the issue of inclusivity in lots of countries, and it's something similar happening everywhere. This is not a global north issue, it's not a global south issue. It's an everyone issue. It's everywhere. There is not inclusivity in youth participation. There's not inclusivity in indigenous people participation. And so there has been the need to have that platform where everyone comes together to fight for what they want, to have their voice heard. Lots of times we see activists doing their protests and stuff, but the question is, how much are they even heard? What position do they have? What stance are they on? What platform are they on to even make sure that they're heard? If you have a stick, a very tiny stick, you can easily break it. But if you have a lot of sticks, bound together, it's hard to break it. So it's usually important to have these youth coming together. Most times we realize that youth try to make the difference, but in silos. They try to do things as individuals because you cannot keep waiting for change to happen to you. You have to make the change. So then how exciting is it when you have a lot of people trying to make the change come together to make an even bigger change? That way you're not just coming together as separate people, but you're coming together in your separate capacity as one unit to present your ideas to the government. And that's what the Youth Climate Council is just all about, to ensure that we have this platform to allow everyone come together in whatever capacity they're coming from as youth, from wherever they're coming from, to ensure that they are heard in the corridors of power everywhere they go, at the city level, at the local level, at the national, sub-regional, even at the global level, as we see ourselves here. So that we don't see ourselves as just Ghanaian youth or Brazilian youth or the Denmark youth, but then we see ourselves as youth coming together to fight for one thing: inclusivity in climate policy making processes.
Thank you very much. So it's a lot about community and staying together in your mind, and I think that's a very good reason for why to have youth climate councils. And I think that's also the reason why a lot of us can continue this fight. Because I think if we don't have each other and we don't have a community, it's even harder to keep on fighting and keep having the motivation in a field where it can seem a bit dark sometimes. Hi, welcome, and good that you're just taking the stage. We will hear from Matteo shortly, and then you can have just a minute or two to settle in. So Matthias, what do you think? Why is it important to have youth climate councils?
So the Youth Climate Council is important because we need the youth in the decision making. We need the people like me, like her, like you guys that are youth to be in places, like important places, in politics, in Ministry of Environment, Education, Health, because climate change is not going to impact only the environment or the Earth system. It's going to impact everywhere, and all kinds of jobs are going to be affected. And we are not only like the future of like the future generation. We are the present, so we must be represented now, so we can have changes now, not for the future. And that's what people usually say, isn't it? Like the youth are the future, but no, we are the present. And I disagree when they say that let's think about the future in another time. No, let's think about now in the present, and we can change. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Matthias. Yeah, I think it's a really good point that you shouldn't just see future as something coming, see youth as something coming in the future, but recognize us now and recognize us as important actors for the things going on right now. Efua, you are from the Youth Climate Council in Ghana, and thank you very much for joining us here on stage. I know that you've just been running from another meeting. I think that's also what youth inclusion is all about, that youth is good at participating in many different ways, also in that way. So thank you very much for making your time here. So I just asked the others the question of why is it even important to have youth climate councils? So I would love to hear your take on that as well.
Great, thank you very much for having me. My name is Efua Nyamechapia. I'm from Ghana, and I coordinate the Youth Climate Council Ghana. So back to your question, why is it important to have the Youth Climate Councils? Mainly because of polarization. Although young people are working hard and doing the work, are pushing their thoughts there, but then all of us wants to do something. So we get replicated activities here and there, and everybody working in silos. So the needed skill, the needed impact that we are all envisioning doesn't easily manifest. So the Youth Climate Council is having the vision of bringing all of us together, coordinate our activities, get one voice, which is much more stronger than just one person's voice, to scale our inclusion, to scale our innovations. So that's just mainly the idea of the YCC, to enhance collaborations, to enhance the work that we are doing, and to scale our voices under one platform, under one umbrella organization. Yeah, so that's mainly the need for the YCCs.
Thank you very much. I think it's a really good point that a youth climate council, or like in general involving the youth, can also bridge this polarization. I also think we in a lot of countries see a polarization between the different generations, and of course giving a stronger voice to the youth is a tool to avoid that, or at least limit that. So I think now we laid the base. We know why it's important to have a youth climate council. I hope that the audience is agreeing with what you've been saying. And at least I think you've been interested in hearing about youth climate council. So that's a good first step as well. But talking about the first step, if there would be someone out here who would like to create their own youth climate council, it can seem like a huge task, and like where do you even start? What do you do? But of course, you are the experts on that question. You have been doing it yourself, so I would love to hear you. What was the first step you took? Because I think learning about the first step of someone else makes it easier for you to take that first tiny step yourself. And as soon as you've taken the first step, it's easier to follow that path. So Matthias, do you want to start with that?
Yeah. So I would just say one quick thing. We started the Youth Climate Council because of the Denmark. That was the first one, because it inspired the other countries to have a Youth Climate Council. But the Youth Climate Council in Brazil started after we changed the government from Bolsonaro, that was really bad, with like environment stuff, as you guys know, to Lula. So we got a lot of youth and we decided what to do. So we thought about getting all the organizations, youth organizations, and we create a Youth Climate Council. And but this started first in São Paulo, that is the biggest city in the America and also in the South continent, called Conjucli, that is a local youth council. Then we changed for national, like for global one, because Brazil is massive, it's like bigger than Europe, for example. So we have a lot of people, and we got together. So to create that is still a little bit hard because we needed do some meetings, and not everyone has access to a computer or like have time to be speaking with us. And we are now in a process of creating. So we are trying to get some political help, some political influence. So we are having meetings with a lot of politicians. We are trying to do something that Ghana are doing, like having some influence from UNICEF. And yeah, we are trying to establish Youth Climate Council. But for us, it's step by step. Each year we have a goal. For Brazil, we are planning to do something bigger for COP30 because it's going to be in our house. And we want to welcome you all that are here to be in Brazil and to understand more about youth and also about Youth Climate Councils. So yeah, we are doing that, so thank you.
Thank you very much. I think a lot of us are looking forward to hopefully visiting Brazil for the next COP. Margaret, what was the very specific first step you took when you created the Youth Climate Council of Ghana?
Okay, I think I'll leave that for EFWA and speak more for the Alliance, because what we do is to assist other countries in having the YCC. So we don't leave them to do this on their own, because I'm sure you'll be wondering, what is my first step? How do I even go about this? So as the Alliance, we are very much involved in the dynamics of the policy-making process in various parts of the world, because currently we have about 9 councils established, and we even have like 3 underway being established by next year. And so what we usually do is that we usually have a host organizations or local organizations coming to us telling us their interest in having the YC in their country. And we encourage everyone to do that, because we as an alliance cannot go about planting YCCs, because one, we don't understand the dynamics of the country more than the people in the country. And in presenting a solution that you're not from, it will not be embraced. And so we have the local organization approaching us, and what we usually do is we find out the dynamics of the of the country and how things are in the country. We realize that everyone's needs are very different. For more of the Danish Council, more of the Poland, more of the Netherlands, it has been in the issue of making voices heard at the policy-making processes. So that is why you see more of them being like advisory bodies. Now, with the issue of more of Africa and the other parts of the global south, it is not just with the issue of being heard in the corridors of power, but also assisting each other. Because we have adaptation issues. We don't just have mitigation, we have adaptation issues we want to try and get ourselves to. So for us, it's more or less like a collaborative platform that allows us to grow ourselves together, work together as we make our voices heard in policy-making processes. So understanding the dynamics of the country and the youth of the country and the needs of the country gives us an idea how the YC would look like. So the YC is not a one-size-fits-all. It's very tailor-made, and we are very flexible in how it even operates, because we understand that every country has different dynamics, and we respect that, because we cannot use one approach to suit every country. It might not be taken well because of how conversations and the language of policies are in every country. So because of what we've been doing, we have constant conversations with these local organizations to understand more about what goes on there And so we're more like the advisors. But at the end of the day, the local organizations are the ones that tell us, hey, I know you're telling me this, but I feel this as well, it will be better put, and we're open to that. So we always keep learning, and this gives way for even the new ones coming in to avoid mistakes. Because then you're coming in with an area filled with experience, filled with trial and errors, filled with so much lessons learned. So you're coming in, you can start to say, oh, hey, we just came up, I just heard that Brazil is something amazing. Let's have a chat. We can do that. We have engagement, we have experience sharing with one another, so you can learn more about what another council is doing. We also do have regional collaborations where you can understand how things are going on in your region. So that's actually the exciting thing. You're not just left alone to just establish it, but you keep learning from someone within your region and even outside your region.
Thank you very much for that very detailed answer. I think that really shows that a first step can be to contact this alliance to get to know how to do it and get support and all that kind of stuff, but also that it's very important to be aware of where you're standing, so where you're coming from and the national circumstances, because of course everything is different.
See how this conversation that we started leads us. See how this conversation that we started leads us. So it just started mainly on a conversational level that, see, this our youth front is so polarized. We are all doing something, but it's not yielding anything. So how do we go about it? How do we make it more unified? So this conversation spurred action, spurred interest across not just CSOs, not just youth groups or individual activists. It also came from the EPA, that's the government agencies. They don't know who to consult. When they consult this organization, the other one says we are not consulted. So in our day-to-day, they wanted that kind of unified group. So the conversation just started, and then the collaborations and the consultations followed for us to have this amazing thing called the Youth Climate Council Ghana. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think it's very interesting how this can both start from like a bottom-up approach, where you like start with conversations among the youth and try to collaborate among the different organizations already existing, but also from this top-down approach where it's more like politicians reaching out, like, we want to have something united from the youth. Can you unite in some way? And that's the way the Youth Climate Council started in Denmark. That was actually because previous youth delegate of Denmark asked the climate minister at a COP, so at a situation like this, shouldn't Denmark have a youth climate council? And they asked that on national TV, if I remember correctly, and that meant that as soon as the minister had said it, in that circumstance, in that situation, they needed to do it, right? So that was a bit like, it started from the youth saying, we want this, but it was actually just the youth delegates saying it to a minister at TV, and then they needed to do it. So that's how we started, and how we, as you said, created the first Youth Climate Council in the world. So that was really nice. So as you have heard now, I think there's a lot of similarities among our different. Should I take your jacket? Yes, it's really cold. Ah, perfect. Yeah, then we don't want that. So as you have heard now, there's a lot of similarities between the different youth climate councils, but there's also a lot of differences, and of course, accordingly to these national circumstances. So I think a crucial question is, who are you trying to affect with your Youth Climate Council? So I think a Youth Climate Council can both try to affect the national politicians, local politicians. It can also be a body that tries to increase the awareness around the climate agenda, both among the youth and among the broader population. So there's many different things that you could be doing as a Youth Climate Council. Mateus, what is the thing that you would say you do the most in Brazil? Like, how are you working in your Youth Climate Council?
Sorry, in a local level or national level?
Yeah, you're working most on local, national, on politicians, or?
I think at the moment we are more like international. We were in the COP29, now we are here at COP29 and also G20. So we are bringing our youth with us, you know, to these kind of spaces. So we are growing there. But basically what we do is more like activism, advocacies. We are trying to be in place of policy makings. So that's what we are doing. We are in a national level, but we want to do something that Denmark does really well. That is go to cities. So we want to influence in the education. We want to get influence like in parks, in activities, not only for youth from like 16 to 30 or 35, depend of the person, but from like children as well. So we want to influence them with education in environment, in climate change, because that's what we need now. We need like, if you don't know if the problem exists of climate change, you don't know how to think and solve this problem. So that's what we want to do. We want to influence education, advocacy, policy. So that's the place that we want to be. And yeah, I think that.
Yeah, so a lot of different things I can hear that you're doing in Brazil. That's amazing. And I think, yeah, there's a lot of different things that you can do at the Youth Climate Council. And as you said, Margaret, it's totally up to the national circumstances, and the youth are also thinking taking part in the YCC, what they want to do. But what is the most, what is the main activities of the YCC you have in Ghana?
Okay, so the YCC in Ghana, I want to say like most people in the global south and in Africa especially, we are looking at capacity. We look more at capacity and inclusivity. So let me touch more on the capacity bit. We realize that although young people are screaming, and they are not like screaming, but they are pushing for their voices to be heard, they are pushing for inclusivity. When you give the person the space that, okay, so that's the policy, what do you want us to include in there? The person is not able to say something very tangible that needs to be included in there that will make any difference. So we realize that we need to build the capacity of young people in Ghana. So we do this in very different ways, mainly on our flagship project, the Youth Negotiators Training Program. So we started this mainly to train young people in climate negotiations. We realized that the decision-making, everything that we do in the local level comes from the decisions that were made at COP, that we come down to the national level to implement. So why not train those young people to start understanding the terms, the negotiations, the whatever is being discussed here, to follow it themselves. And if they have the chance, make input into that. Then when they come down back to the country, they can now implement projects around that. So we did this Youth Negotiators program to train young people. And we don't end there. We are keen on mentorship as well. So we bring them back to the ministries. Mind you, I already mentioned that the ministry also initiated this, so they work closely with us. We bring them back to the ministries for them to get the mentorship they need, to get the ideas they need now to make meaningful input into policies. Aside that, we do a number of other capacity building around fundraising, because we realize that young people are doing a lot of projects in Ghana, and they need funds. If they don't have funds, they are not able to do the climate action that they want to do. So we do a lot of capacity building on fundraising, and also we do mini grants. We give mini grants to grassroots people to scale their innovations. Then lastly, we we help in nationwide consultations on policies. So we have a collaboration with the EPA, that any policies that they do, we try to understand what went into the policies and do a nationwide consultation, getting youth perspective into the policy, and then do a policy brief, give it back to the ministry for them to see what young people are saying, and if in case, include it into the policy. So that's basically what we've been doing in Ghana. Thank you.
Thank you for that very long list of things you're doing in Ghana. I think this kind of capacity building is really important, because I don't think you could call it true youth involvement or youth inclusion if you just go out on the street and ask a young person, what do you want on the climate field, or what do you want in any field? But you need to ensure that they have enough capacity and have had the enough training and like have access to knowledge and access to many different things in order to engage in a more meaningful way. So now we heard a lot about what you're doing in the two youth councils that you are representing. And of course, there's a lot of very inspiring things and crazy things that you're doing. But I also know that youth climate councils are also facing some barriers from time to time. And Margaret, as this role you have within the Global Alliance, I know that you've heard a lot about the different barriers that people are facing when either starting or running and working within YCCs. So can you tell us a bit more about these barriers for people to know what can hit them if they are trying to establish a YCC, and maybe how to overcome it?
Okay, so the very first barrier is even getting the concept of the YCC embraced in your country. Because for some of the countries, some people saw it as a threat. They felt that, they're starting up to get all the funds, to get all the partners, and so some government institutions saw it as a threat. But then how we actually approached it is one of the things we do is we extend a hand of collaboration. So the YCC never tries to become the superhero of all climate problems related to the youth and indigenous groups. We always come in extending a hand to partner with all stakeholders, because we realize that we are just youth. We may have some experience, but we do have experts who have been in the field for a lot of years, who have access to resources, access to other forms of connections that we might need. And so we always fall on collaborating with the government. So we don't establish and say, hey guys, watch us do our thing. We don't do that. We actually approach government saying that we want to do this, and we know that with your collaboration, we can access a lot of youth within the country, because we can do just as much as we can. But a government that has its structures situated in every grassroots, in every community, when we leverage with such partnership, we can now have access to reach every youth, even in that context. So partnership is one thing that we really hold dear, because we partner with tertiary institutions, we partner with anywhere the youth is involved. So government institutions, tertiary institutions, we engage also with development corporations, because they too would want to have their own visions met, but then they will need some engines to work through. So we do that. And the YCC is more or less like an amplifier of what already existing organizations do. So we don't come to take out someone's advocacy role or someone's work they're doing, but we just amplify what they're doing. So this is something that has kind of given other organizations room to buy into the vision of the YCC, because we're not just coming in to say, step aside, we're doing the work. No, we actually come in to say, you're doing amazing. We want others to see what you're doing. We want to help you scale up. We want to build you. We want to make sure that we all know whatever you're doing. And so they all embrace, and now they all come together as youth in whatever format they're coming with. Another thing has been funds, because even in trying to spread your wings, you need resources to do that. And the Alliance can do just as little as we can. Because of funds, we mostly play more of a guiding role. And so we look forward to getting more funds as an Alliance to support each council. Because imagine if, let's say, we have a YC Alliance that can fund the operations of every YCC, it would make work so much easy. But unfortunately, because of funds, we more or less like leave them without guidance to now look for funds, to reach out to partners, and that can be a bit frustrating if they don't have the willingness to do this even with little or no funds. So that's another challenge that we're still hoping that in avenues like this, you can actually get partners to come in and support our regional cooperation, not just with individual YCCs, but even the regional collaboration, ensuring that we extend as a regional unit in terms of projects, in terms of policy making advocacy, even in terms of ensuring that interventions within one country can influence another country in the same region.
Thank you very much. I think it's interesting to talk about funding, especially in this place where everyone is talking about finance and how to ensure enough finance. So I think that's a problem that many of us are facing in many different ways. But thank you very much for enlightening us a bit on with your expertise of knowledge of a lot of different youth climate councils. In a moment, I will like to give the microphone to the audience if you have any questions for this honored panel of YCC experts. But first, I would like to ask you, when we're talking about youth inclusion, I think it's really important to do it right, to do it fully, and not just to, go to one random young person and ask about something and then say, oh, we included the youth. So you need to have some democratic legitimacy if you want to, do it in the best possible way. So I would like to ask you, how are you ensuring that democratic legitimacy within your YCCs? How are you ensuring that you're not only talking on the behalf of you independently, but that you have this broader youth behind you? Mateus, do you want to start off?
Yeah, sorry. Can you just repeat the last?
Yeah. So I think when working within a youth climate council, it's important to ensure that you are talking on the behalf of a broader group of youth and not just on your own personal opinions. So how do you ensure that you are, speaking on the behalf of a lot of young people and not only on the behalf of yourself?
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you. So basically, how this works is in Brazil, we have different groups of working. So we have the politics, the research, that I'm the part of that. We have Olivia, that you do, how to say in English, mobilization? You are from mobilization, isn't it? Yeah. And we have also communication. So we have different groups. And as we have more than 100 people with us, we select people and we vote like you do, as a president or prime ministers. So we got these people elected. And when we are going to speak about something, do some plans, we basically do meetings. We speak with each other, what's our plan, what's our goal, and all the ideas is not from one person, but it's from everyone. And we try to do like a family, what we are going to have for dinner. We are going to do this, and we can make this meal. So it's basically like that. We get an idea and we work on this idea until we done that. So it's basically that, So it's really democratic. It's really nice. Everyone help. Everyone that work with us has the hope of this Youth Climate Council, and that's what we do, democratically.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I think it's always interesting to hear the different democratic structures of whatever organization or council that you're working in. How is the democratic structures working within the Ghana and YCC?
Yes, so with Ghana we have about 16 regions now, but previously we had 10 regions. The country is divided into 10 regions, and some of them are very far from the capital where the main secretariat of the YCC are. So one thing we did is with the regional focal points. So we had 10 regional focal points in each region. And what they do is that they do the grassroots mobilization. They communicate, they talk, they mobilize grassroots representatives who are doing climate actions, who are doing projects on climate change, have their own capacity building sessions with them, and monthly we coordinate all the RFPs and take reports from them, what they did, any interesting thing happening in their regions for us to support, anyone that needs highlight that we can post for people to see the work that they are doing. So we realize that if we are saying that we want to work just from the YCC secretariat with the three main secretariat that we have, the officers that we have in the secretariat in Ghana, it will yield very minimal results. So with the regional focal point, they are there to coordinate. They do their own events. They host their own supports fundraisers to support themselves with our coaching. So now it doesn't look like we have just a centralized system that you have to come to the YCC secretariat in Accra before you can do something. But in your own region, when you just reach out to your RFP, even on WhatsApp, you can mobilize something and do something. So it made coordination very easy. And in case we had the chance to make, I went to a policy briefing in Accra that I was the one invited from YCC to go. We just do communication. We mobilize all the RFPs, tell them what we went to do, and then they trickle it down to the people so that it's not just one person that was engaged, but the whole YCC database is engaged. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's a very impressive work with the local engagement in that way. I can tell from the Danish side, the way that we're doing it is that half of us are chosen from youth organizations. So in that way, we are representing something broader, like a broader community. And the other half is chosen by personal experiences. So they are like more our experts and the ones who have maybe sometimes a bit more experience. Not that the people from the youth organizations are not having experience. I think they are very experienced as well. But it's a bit of a different mandate of whether you're the more representative part of the council or the more expert kind of the part of the council. And at the same time, we're also trying to establish local youth climate councils in Denmark, which is a work we're continuing and continue to push for, but something that's a bit more in the run-up and something we have established in parts of the country, but not all over the country yet. Now I would like to open the floor to the audience if you have any questions for... Yes, perfect.
Hello. Hello everyone, my name is Nora, I'm from Sweden. My question is basically that all around the world, but especially in Europe, we have seen like a big wave of extreme right and populist. And I used to work at the Swedish Youth Council, and it really affected our work and our funding. So my question is basically if that has affected your work and how you have managed to work through the right populist movement, basically.
I can answer that. So basically, when we had Bolsonaro, we tried to establish a youth climate council. Was in 2018 or 19, I don't remember, but was with Denmark in the same time. And we could not because he didn't want to listen to us, you know. He didn't want to do anything. And if you can see all around the world, the extreme right is rising, and they don't want to listen to us, and I don't think they will. If we go, I'll tell you one thing that I did. In 2019, I went in the front of Bolsonaro. It was like a meeting of extreme right. I was like there. But not as, I'm not extreme right, I'm left, but anyway. I went there and I said, Bolsonaro, like look in his eyes, what's the climate policies for Brazil? And he said, I don't have and I don't want to speak with you. And we start arguing with each other, you know. But I went there to speak with him, for him to listen to me. But people like him, he doesn't want to listen, no one that is opposite to him, you know, like has other views. So it is really hard. It's really hard to speak with this kind of people. And when they changed for Lula, I thought we could establish a youth climate council, and we are still having some difficulties, you know. Lula is like left wing, but he has some conservative minds. Also, we are speaking with some people from the government to try to establish a youth climate council, but some people look for us and like, oh, it's just youth people, you know, they don't know nothing. So it's really hard. But yeah, focus on the extreme right is really hard, and I hope your country as well. Okay, it's not the United States, and yeah, so. I hope I could answer your question.
Thank you very much, Mateus, for enlightening us in that story. Yeah, Margaret?
Yeah, I just wanted to add to something that it is quite dicey when you try to revolve the YCC's operations around the government. we, as much as possible, always encourage the independency, the autonomy of the YCC's operations. And so for what we do is when we engage in government, we come in a form of a partner, not as we want you to fund us. Because from experience, we realize that when a government is having that much room to fund or to make key contributions in the YCC, they can change a lot of things that does not build or push their own agenda. So we don't come in for fund needs. All funding needs come with development partners, not with the government. And when we engage in governments, we leverage with the institutions, not the people in the government. Because we realize that people in the government are only doing it because of the political desire and what they want. So we go ahead with partnership with the institutions in there. So we don't go to, say, a mayor because we are interested in the mayor or the mayor is interested in her political power or something. But we're going with the institutions, the ministries, who are not necessarily revolving around a person. That way, when that person is not there, it still runs. So we acknowledge that we will not have everyone supporting it, but we take advantage strategically of those that are in institutions that can support the system. So this is just an advice that in engaging stakeholders, most governments are adamant, so this is you because they feel that you're just coming in for my money and I don't have money for you. So when you're coming with more of a, we're good, we just want you to give us your expertise. It eases how they respond to things. And hopefully you get others out or support the idea.
Thank you very much. I think that's also a bit how we try to approach it in Denmark, because I think you will always have changing governments, right? And doing to one side and the other side. And the way we have approached it in Denmark is to really institutionalize our Youth Climate Council, and in that way try to make sure that even though there would be coming a minister who wouldn't be a big fan of the YCC, it will still continue to work, and then the YCC would maybe focus more on doing other things and giving recommendations to the minister. Okay, our time is almost up. I think that if you have more questions, I think it would be great if you approach the panelists directly after this, because we need to respect the time of the scene. But I hope that you have learned something new about Youth Climate Councils and maybe been inspired to go home and create one yourself, either at a national or local level. We have some tools that you can use if you want to do that. And I've been told for security reasons that you shouldn't scan too many QR codes, so that is the reason why this is a written link. So you can either take a picture or type it in on your phone yourself. But yeah, I hope that you've learned something from this. I hope that you will follow the work both of the different YCCs, but also from the Alliance. And please reach out if you have any questions, either now or you can always find us on Instagram or LinkedIn. So yeah, please don't hesitate to reach out, because I think we're all here to support each other and to enhance youth inclusion and to move forward with the climate agenda. Thank you very much.